Basic survival tips for Shadows of Duat. The following tips are things that you can truly discover through trial and error, playing, investigating, dying, and learning. For this reason, if you want to experience the game in all its rawness, I recommend that you skip this video. However, if you don't have as much patience while playing, or if you're simply stuck, following these tips can help you progress in your adventure through the Shadows of Duat. Tip 1. Don't run, observe. Shadows of Duat is a game that rewards slow exploration because it's filled with details. If you rush through, besides missing out on the wonderfully crafted atmosphere we've created, you might fall into a trap or overlook valuable treasures. There are 3 basic symbols you'll encounter in different parts of the game that are worth memorizing. The secret door symbol, behind which interesting things are usually hidden. The trap symbol, which is an arrow indicating traps. And lastly, the curse symbol, which is advisable not to touch no matter how tempting it may be. Traps are often marked additionally with skeletons, statues facing them, or even certain reliefs. At least in the beginning, it's recommended to get accustomed to them. If you're playing as the engineer character, it's worth taking the time to disarm traps with your tools. If you're not the engineer, or simply don't have the tools with you, try shooting from a safe spot. Tip 2. Light is your ally. We know that fuel is limited, but if managed well, it can last throughout the entire adventure. In areas where there are braziers or other sources of light, you can save your lantern oil. However, in dark areas, which make up the majority of the game, we recommend always keeping your light on. Fumbling in the dark is the best way to fall into a trap, or be ambushed by certain creatures of the darkness. Occasionally, as a gesture of benevolence, the developers have placed some supernatural lights that illuminate important things. Don't ignore them. Always follow the light. Tip 3. Read carefully. Many players find certain puzzles difficult, cruel, or downright unfair. In reality, it's all about reading carefully and understanding what you're doing before pressing any buttons. Making a mistake in a puzzle can sometimes result in a terrible punishment. That's why we recommend taking your time. Observe everything that's illuminated, examine every key object you find, and take notes in a notebook. Pause the game if necessary, and think through your next move. Everything you need to solve each puzzle is within the game. You don't need any prior knowledge of ancient Egypt. Tip 4. Manage your inventory. We know the inventory is limited. You can discard an item, but doing so will permanently remove it from existence, so make sure there's no other option before doing that. Some items, such as weapons and most keys, cannot be discarded. You'll have to wait until you reach the Temple of Khepri to store what you don't need and organize your inventory. But until that moment, we advise you not to pick up everything you come across recklessly. Only take what you need at each moment. Certain items like oil flasks, ammunition, and offerings can be combined to reduce the occupied space. Other more valuable items like healing potions cannot be combined. Remember, you don't always have to carry all the weapons and all the ammunition, and you don't always have to fight. Regarding this, we have the following advice. Tip 5. Keep a cool head. Most enemies in Shadows of Duat are truly terrifying. However, they have several weak points. Just like in zombie movies, aim for the head. We know the aiming system is tough, as we intentionally made it that way to increase realism and difficulty. However, with the tombs missed, the bullets become tracers, and you'll quickly get the hang of it. If your aim is still not great, hold on until they get close enough, and boom. Well, it's better if they don't get too close. You have to find the sweet spot for each enemy. On the other hand, you don't always have to engage in a firefight. In general, enemies are not too bright. They can fall into most traps if you manage to lure them close enough. With some skill, you can dodge them. It may take you several attempts, but ideally, you should avoid narrow corridors. As for the braziers scattered everywhere, try shooting near them. You'll smell the barbecue. Tip 6. Drink in moderation. Every time you get injured, your heart beats faster, and if you have a healing potion, you'll feel tempted to drink it. Sometimes it's advisable to hold on a little, as potions restore 100% of your health. The same goes for the fuel level. You need to spend oil wisely. It's quite annoying, especially when you've just healed, and suddenly a venomous snake appears. Yes, the nuns' water potions also cure poison. Treasure these valuable little blue bottles, and use them only when you know you'll enter combat. There are several nuns' temples scattered across the maps, usually behind secret doors. Look for the symbol. Tip 7. Use shortcuts. There are several types of shortcuts that can be quite useful if used wisely. They can allow you to skip multiple trap-filled areas and even some puzzles. On one hand, the archaeologist can crawl through small passages. Be careful, as some passages are not exempt from traps. Watch for signs. On the other hand, the engineer can use dynamite on a certain type of wall. They are red and cracked. You'll recognize them right away. However, dynamite is limited, so think carefully before using it. The Mercenary and the Scholar, being advanced game modes, have other ways to progress that you'll discover as you go. There's another type of shortcut that all 4 characters can enjoy. The Lunar Passages of Jonsu. We'll let you find out where they lead on your own. We won't give everything away. Tip 8. Save at the right moment. To save your game, you'll need an alabaster offering for the god Thoth. These offerings are quite limited, so saving all the time is not an option. But it's advisable to save once or twice per level, every time you achieve something important, such as completing a puzzle or obtaining a difficult item, as having to repeat these things can be less enjoyable. As my grandmother used to say, neither bald nor with 2 wigs. And that's all for now. We sincerely hope these tips are helpful to you and that you enjoy Shadows of Duat. If you have more questions or need further advice, leave a comment. See you in the shadows.